a.m. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, a validation stamp is available on the counter. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox. I will go down the list alphabetically by organization, and please indicate if you are present. Ted Wolf, Apache Junction. Thank you. Audra Merrick, ADOT. Raj Thadam, Avondale. John Willett, Buckeye.
Present.
Thank you. CJ DiMaggio, Carefree.
Present.
Thank you. Hal Marin, Cave Creek. Jason Crampton, Chandler.
Here.
Thank you. Jorge Gaslam, El Mirage.
Present. Sorry.
Andy Smith, Florence. David Janover, Fountain Hills.
Present.
Thank you. Nathan Williams as proxy for Jason Hafner, Gilbert.
Here.
Thank you. Harab Adabala, Glendale.
Present.
Thank you. Hugh Begok as proxy for Steve Cinto, Goodyear. Cassandra Gomez, Guadalupe.
Present.
Thank you. Keith Dranaski, Litchfield Park.
Here.
Thank you. Keith Brown, Maricopa.
Present.
Thank you. Chair Wilcox.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Guderian, Mesa. Shar Johnson, Paradise Valley.
Present.
Thank you. Andrew Granger as proxy for Brianna Velez, Phoenix. Christopher Wanamaker, Pinal County. Julian Dressing as proxy for Muhammad Yusuf, Queen Creek.
Present.
Thank you. Nathan Domi, Scottsdale.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Boyles, Surprise.
Now I'm here.
Thank you. Chase Wallman as proxy for Shelley Seiler, Tempe.
Here.
Thank you. Chris Hamilton, Tolleson.
Here.
Thank you. Trevor Collin, Valley Metro.
Here.
Thank you. Herschel Workman, Wickenburg. Grant Anderson, Youngtown.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed?
Yeah, this is Logan Hopp at the City of Goodyear.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items, or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. I have received no requests to speak for the call to the audience. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the call to the audience?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no written comments for the call to the audience.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 3, the MAG staff report. This item is on the agenda for information and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MAG Deputy Transportation Director of Programming.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC. Pleasure to be here today to present a few updates. Next slide, please. First, I'd like to welcome a new member to the Transportation Review Committee. Cassandra Gomez, town planner with the town of Guadalupe, has joined TRC. Her appointment was made earlier this month. Next. I want to flag important item for member agencies. Fiscal year 2026 closeout is going on as we speak. Notice was sent out earlier this month on the 6th. We do have 25 million in funding available. Want to note the due date is November 13th at noon. No late requests are accepted. If you have questions, certainly reach out to myself or Wendy Miller on my staff about any closeout requests you may want to submit. Next slide, please. Moving on to some financial updates. HERF for the month of September, doing well, 1.5% higher year over year for the same month, although we were a little bit below the forecast. Next. And then if we look at HERF year to date, trending just about 0.5% above forecast, so well within ADOT's variances, looking pretty solid. Next for RARF. For the month of August, good news again here. Collections were 1.8%, excuse me, higher in August than August of 2024, and also just over 1% above forecast. Next. And then again, looking at year to date, variance is just 0.6%, well within the thresholds. And with that, Chair, that completes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Move to item number 4, informational items. There are no informational items on the agenda today. So we'll proceed to agenda item 5, approval of the consent agenda. Items 5A and 5B. Does any member of the committee have any questions or request a presentation on any of the consent agenda items? Hearing none, prior to approval of the consent agenda, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this item?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online written comments for the consent agenda.
Is there a motion to approve agenda items 5A and 5B?
Motion approved. Julian, Queen Creek.
Thank you, Julian.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
And Trevor is the second. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in a voice vote by turning on their camera and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason Crampton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 6. This item is on the agenda for action and will be presented by Patrick Stone, Deputy Transportation Director of Programming, and John Willett, City of Buckeye Acting Deputy Director.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC. Happy to be here to introduce this item today. As the Chair noted, this is the second project deferral request for the City of Buckeye's Miller Road Fiber Optic Backbone Project. There we go. Before we turn it over to the City of Buckeye to do the presentation, I did want to highlight the policy document that guides the discussion today, which is the Regional Programming Guidelines. These were approved by Regional Council back earlier this year in March, specifically Section 530, which covers project deferrals. Of note, when the member agency is making their presentation, the intent is to identify and explain the problems or issues that cause the need for the deferral, show how the agency has staff and financial resources allocated to get the project done, revised schedule showing a path to success, and most importantly, showing how they've triaged the issue that caused the need for the deferral. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Willett with the City of Buckeye.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you, members. Next slide, please. Do I do this? Am I the driver? Do I need to go up there or do it here? Okay, sorry. As Patrick mentioned, this is our Miller to Monroe ITS project, second deferral. There's a little history in the project. It was awarded in 2021. And for a fiscal year 23/24 funding, it was 2 projects at one time. Then it was combined into one. And with the combining of the one, that was the beginning of our first deferral. This does allow us to communicate with our new TMC that we have recently installed in the city. These are the 2 projects. Monroe was a fiscal year 23. It was Miller to Easton, about 3/4 of a mile. And then our fiscal 24 project was Miller from I-10 all the way down to Monroe. That's about 4 miles. And then, as I mentioned, they were combined in 25 into one project. This is the map. It shows the limits. I would try to do the highlight thing, but I'm going to mess it up, so I'm not even going to do it. As mentioned, it starts up at I-10, goes down Miller all the way down to Monroe. Monroe is also known as MC-85, for those of you familiar with the West Valley. And then the Monroe part is through downtown Buckeye, where we have 3 signals. Again, this combines them all together. And then eventually it allows us to connect to the ITS that we now have access to along I-10. Project challenges. A couple of challenges occurred. One was getting the IGA completed through the process. Those who've worked through ADOT know it's not like it's really simple. You ask tomorrow, it's done Monday kind of scenario. We got through there. Schedule constraints. The other challenge we have is along Miller, we have the unique scenario of 2 irrigation canals and a railroad to coordinate with. That coordination took a little longer than we'd hoped. Our plans are pretty much at the 95% stage. ADOT has begun that review now that the IGA has been officially approved. With that, we feel we are on schedule to advertise this project early 2026. And that's the request for the deferral, because technically our money ended last month. Deferral benefits allows the review to be completed on time, allows the CIP. We have a couple CIP projects in the corridor that are wrapping up. They are actually putting in conduit that we thought this project was going to install and some fiber. So with that working, we're actually able to bring some of the elements out. I like to sit here and tell you that reduced the cost, but that is not true because we all know construction costs have been going up. And it also allows some development projects to be completed, and they did their work as well. So there are some benefits of less work that this project had to do. Revised timeline, project advertisement early 26, begin March, April. That all depends on the ADOT process, getting it completed and finished by the end of next year. Revised, but the original budget when the 2 projects were combined was just under 1.5 million. The city share was 82. The federal share was just under 1.4. This total here shows in the revised budget of just over 2 million. It is now slightly less than 2 million with some of the work that's been done recently. So the city share and the federal share will be slightly reduced. We have recently submitted for the closeout funds. That was submitted yesterday. And we're working with Patrick and his group to make sure we've got all the documentation in properly for that. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Patrick and John. Do any members have any questions or comments to this agenda item? Prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no request on this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online written comments for this agenda item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the second deferral request for the City of Buckeye's Miller Road fiber optic backbone project and inclusion of the associated amendments to the draft fiscal year 26 through 2030 Transportation Improvement Program, Regional Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Investment Plan, and Momentum 2050 MEG Regional Transportation Plan?
Anderson, Youngtown, I so move.
Thank you, Grant.
Second, Eric Boyle Surprise.
Thank you, Eric. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Chair. Everyone had their cameras on and the motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. Move to item number 7, second project deferral and project scope modification request for the City of Scottsdale's Flashing Yellow Arrow pilot project. This item is on the agenda for action and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MAG Deputy Transportation Director of Programming, and John Savage, City of Scottsdale Principal Traffic Engineer.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC. Again, a pleasure to present this item. Kind of similar, a little different to the prior agenda item. This is a second deferral request for the City of Scottsdale. In addition, though, they are requesting a project scope modification request. I really won't go too far into section 530 we talked about in the previous agenda item. It does outline the requirements for the member agency when they do present a deferral request. And instead, what I really want to focus on is section 550. This is the other half of the city's request, specifically project modifications, and notes that any project that's classified as a TIP amendment that modifies the work scope, and that's the request the city is making today, must go through the approval of the Modal Technical Committee, in this case, the ITS Committee, before taken through Transportation Review Committee, and MAG policy committees. And with that, I'll turn it over to John Savage with the City of Scottsdale. John?
Yeah, thanks. So hey everybody, I'm John Savage. I'm the Principal Traffic Engineer with the City of Scottsdale. And like Patrick said, we're requesting approval from the Transportation Review Committee for a second deferral and scope modification for ITS Project 3524, which is Scottsdale's Flashing Yellow Arrow project. Next slide, please. So the original request was for $827,500. We're not requesting any changes to the budget for this project. We are reducing the scope to fit within the confines of the allocated budget. This original request was for the procurement of 49 intersection signal heads for flashing yellow arrow improvements and the wiring associated with them along Scottsdale Road and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. Some of the challenges that we've run into as part of this project are some of the original locations that were proposed have actually been upgraded to flashing yellow arrows already. And some intersections have configurations like dual left turn signals, so they operate in a protected only operation 24/7. So they wouldn't be compatible with flashing yellow arrow operations for time of day phasing in order to take advantage of the flashing yellow arrow. And additionally, some of the intersections require modifications. So those are new foundations, new poles to accommodate the larger mast arms that would be required in order to get proper alignment with that flashing yellow arrow signal head. Next slide, please. So the scope modification that we're requesting is to reduce from that initial scope of 49 intersections to 14 intersections with those flashing yellow arrow improvements. As we were refining the scope, we tried to balance cost effectiveness, so intersections that didn't require a lot of infrastructure improvements with also high priority intersections, so intersections that had safety considerations that were on the MAG Top 200 list or operational characteristics of that intersection. And we continue to meet the intent of the program. The flashing yellow arrows will still reduce delays, reduce emissions, and increase safety at the intersections that they are deployed. Next slide, please. The project timeline, so we're requesting to defer to FY 2027. That would be 12 months to completion. So 6 months for procurement. We're estimating 6 months for installation. And our intent is to utilize job order contracting, JOCs, and also support that with city staff to get the project delivered. We've already begun coordinating with ADOT, and we will move forward with that as soon as we have the approval. Next slide, please. This is the original scope of the project. So these are the 49 intersections along Scottsdale Road and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard that we're going to be deployed. Next slide, please. And this is the evaluation that we conducted. So we identified the intersections that had existing flashing yellow arrows or existing protected. So the black circle intersections are intersections that aren't really candidates for this project. The green and blue circles were intersections that were potential candidates to move forward with that we screened out. And next slide, please. And this is the final list of intersections that we identified, with the majority of them occurring on those MAG Top 200 intersections. Next slide. And that is it. So I will take any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Patrick and John. Do any members have any questions or comments to this agenda item?
Anderson, Youngtown, did the ITS have any questions regarding this deferral?
Yeah, there were a couple questions, mostly technical questions about the intent of the program. Were we going to operate on flashing yellow arrows? But the ITS committee did approve this and push it forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the membership? Prior to voting, there's an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online written comments for this agenda item.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the second deferral and scope modification request for the City of Scottsdale's flashing yellow arrow pilot project and inclusion of the associated amendments to the draft fiscal year 2026 through 2030 Transportation Improvement Program, Regional Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Investment Plan, and Momentum 2050 MEG Regional Transportation Plan?
Chair, I move approval.
Thank you, Trevor.
I'll
May
second
I have
that.
a second?
Parag, City of Glendale.
Thank you, Parat. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Keith Jernasky, how do you vote?
That's aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 8, approval of the draft Momentum 2050 Regional Transportation Plan update. This item is on the agenda for action and will be presented by Hannah Quinsley, Senior Planner.
Good morning, Chair Wilcox and committee members. Thank you for providing me this update to give an overview of the draft update to the Regional Transportation Plan that we call the Momentum 2050 update. It's MAG's responsibility to develop a long-range transportation regional transportation plan, what we call the RTP, that guides the investment of transportation dollars. Momentum 2050 is our region's long-range blueprint for the transportation system looking ahead 25 years into the future. Federal law requires that MAG, as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, update this plan every 4 years to make sure that the plan always reflects the latest conditions, including our population growth, employment trends, land use, and how people are actually traveling around the valley. It also ensures that our plan stays fiscally constrained, meaning that we can only include projects that we know that we can pay for, and that it continues to meet air quality requirements. MAG provides the forum for local governments to work together on issues that impact everyone in the greater Phoenix region. This includes leading planning efforts and implementing policy decisions that impact the future of our region, with transportation being the core of MAG's work, and hence why we are updating the Regional Transportation Plan. The MAG region is made up of 27 cities and towns, 3 native nations, and spans 2 counties. It covers 10,600 square miles. This area is home to 5.2 million people today, and the population is expected to reach 6.8 million people by the year 2050. The MAG Regional Council unanimously approved the original Momentum 2050 plan on December 1st, 2021, and the U.S. Department of Transportation issued a finding of conformity for MAG's air quality conformity analysis on December 15th, 2021. The original values mapping and public input process that began in 2018 and lasted through 2021 can continue to serve as the vision for this regional transportation plan update. This update carries forward that vision presented in Momentum 2050. And from that public input period, Valley residents identified their top transportation priorities being reducing traffic congestion, improving safety, investing in road maintenance, investing in transportation that improves economic growth, increasing freeway capacity, and advancing a mixture of projects and programs. These themes, along with values mapping exercises, led to the creation of the 6 regional goals that you see on your screen that guide Momentum 2050 and shaped the multimodal investment strategy that continues with this update. So keeping in line with those federal requirements, MAG kicked off an update to Momentum 2050 starting earlier at the beginning of this year. The draft Momentum 2050 update presented today fulfills the federal and state requirements to establish that long-term vision for transportation in our region. It is guided by public input, and again, we are meeting that requirement to update it every 4 years. The update's based on the most current data and assumptions available, including population and employment, land use, travel, congestion, and economic activity. And the plan is fiscally constrained. It conforms to air quality regulations and addresses the 10 planning factors that are identified in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, known as the IIJA. The draft plan includes updated current and forecasted socioeconomic conditions using MAG's 2023 socioeconomic projections and the 2025 travel demand model. Shown on your screen here is 2025, or the current year projected population. And then between 2025 and 2050, the MAG region population and households are expected to grow 31%. Now shown on your screen is 2025, or current year projected employment. Employment in the region is expected to increase 900,000 jobs during that same period. And now shown on your screen is 2025 peak congestion. I want you to pay particular attention to those orange lines. Shown on your screen now is the 2050 PM peak no build congestion, those orange lines being those congested corridors. Without new transportation investments, traffic congestion is projected to worsen significantly, with more than half of all lane miles congested during the PM peak by the year 2050. The Momentum 2050 investment strategy was originally developed through a performance-based framework that evaluates scenarios against 6 regional goals, balancing funding across modes to expand transportation options while prioritizing safety and system maintenance. The plan updates the investment strategy to reflect the phased approach to transportation investments established in the Regional Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Investment Plan that we call the RSTIP, which was adopted by Regional Council in 2021. This draft update also includes the successful passage of Proposition 479, Maricopa County's half-cent sales tax dedicated to transportation, as well as legislative changes in Senate Bill 1102. This ensures that the plan update reflects the most current funding authority and requirements. The RTP is inclusive of all revenue sources, including state, private, and locally funded projects, and the RSTIP's life cycle and competitive programs. The RSTIP represents the investment plan for the revenues MAG has programmatic oversight over, including Proposition 479, federal formula funds, and a portion of the Arizona Highway User Revenue Fund. And then the TIP, or the Transportation Improvement Program, is a federally required companion to the RTP. You're going to hear more about that here in a few minutes, and includes a fiscally constrained list of the first 5 years of the regionally significant projects in the RTP. MAG estimates that $58.5 billion in revenues will support planned freeway, highway, and high-capacity transit projects over the RTP's planning period, going through 2050. Additional revenues totaling $26.3 billion are also available to support regional priorities such as arterial improvements, bus transit capital and operations, safety improvements, and air quality programs. These transportation investments are supported by $41 billion in revenues from Proposition 479. The benefits of the Momentum 2050 update compare a 2050 build scenario where we implement the projects and investments contained in the plan with a no build 2050 scenario where the current transportation system stays the same, highlighting the impacts of investment versus inaction. For example, in 2050, with the planned transportation investments in the plan, in the RTP, the average commute time is expected to be 29 minutes here in the Valley. That is shorter than the current average commute time in LA, Chicago, Houston, and Seattle, even after we've added 1.5 million people and 34% more jobs here in the region over the next 25 years. The planned transportation investments also lessen traffic delays and congestion, improving level of service. So level of service being that measurement of traffic flow. So level of service A being completely unobstructed traffic flow, whereas level of service F represents long delays with stop and go traffic. So this map on your screen here, this is 2025 no build, shows that our system's current most congested corridors today. Now this 2050 no build map shows the areas where congestion worsens and grows across the transportation network and the region by 2050 without those planned transportation investments. But with Momentum 2050's planned investments, this 2050 build map shows the percent of these heavily congested roadways is reduced from 14% to less than 5%. The benefits contained in this plan update provide opportunity for the Valley's population and economy to continue growing for years to come without the strain on our transportation system. Now, consistent with federal regulations and MAG's public participation plan, a 30-day public comment period was facilitated for this update. To inform the public about opportunities to provide input on the draft Momentum 2050 update, MAG reached out to the public in a variety of methods, including we sent out more than 3,000 email notices to residents, agencies, stakeholders, and our MAG technical committees as well. We published a public notice in the Arizona Republic newspaper, as well as on our website, and we invited the public to comment on the draft update on the MAG 2050 project website. And then we handed out collateral that contained a QR code linking to that project webpage and shared it through our social media accounts, including Instagram, X, and Facebook. And then in September, we held a stakeholder and agency resource meeting where we invited over 130 of stakeholders at the federal, state, and local levels to participate. And after that public comment period closed, MAG prepared a public input report and the final draft of the Momentum 2050 update. In December 2025, December this year, Regional Council will be asked to adopt this updated plan. And once adopted, that plan goes to our state and federal partners, including Arizona Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway Administration, and the Federal Transit Administration for review and air quality conformity approval. Chair Wilcox and members of the committee, that concludes my presentation. I'll be available to answer any questions. And the action before you, as shown on your screen, is to recommend approval of the draft Momentum 2050 Regional Transportation Plan update and errata sheet changes contingent on a finding of conformity.
Thank you, Hannah. Very nice presentation. Do any members have any questions or comments regarding this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, this is Jason with City of Chandler. I have a question for Hannah.
Thank you, Jason. Please go ahead.
Hannah, great presentation. Good work on this plan. I think I know the answer, but just wanted to clarify. So there, with this plan update, there's no recommended changes to like the funding buckets in the RSTIP or any recommendation of moving projects around like within the ALCP or anything like that. From what I read, I couldn't see any recommendations like that, but I just wanted to clarify.
Chair Wilcox, committee members, Mr. Crampton, thank you for that question. You're absolutely correct at this time. This RTP update provides updated estimated revenues, but does not update the RSTIP itself. That would be separate from this update coming at a later time when that RSTIP would be updated. But those programs and projects are exactly the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the committee have any questions? Prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online written comments for this agenda item.
Very good. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the draft Momentum 2050 Regional Transportation Plan update and errata sheet changes contingent on a funding or a finding of conformity?
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion. Jason, City of Chandler.
Thank you, Jason. Can I have a second, please?
Chair, I'll second that. Purab, Glendale.
Thank you, Parag. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Get the council out of.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone had their camera on and the motion passes.
Very good. We'll move to item number 9, fiscal year 2026 through 2030 Transportation Improvement Program. This item is on the agenda for action and will be presented by Wendy Miller, Transportation Improvement Program Manager. Wendy?
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee. I'm pleased to be presenting to you today the fiscal year 2026 through 2030 Transportation Improvement Program. Just to give you a basic overview of the TIP, MAG is required, just like the RTP in the previous presentation, to develop a TIP and update it at least every 4 years. The TIP incorporates all federally funded and regionally significant projects in the region, the transportation projects over the next 5 years. The TIP is a companion document to the Regional Transportation Plan and a short-term implementation tool for the Regional Strategic Infrastructure Investment Plan, or the RSTIP. And the TIP is the short-term 5-year list of projects. And similar to the RTP, it must be developed in cooperation with the state and public transportation providers. It must be fiscally constrained, be in conformance with air quality requirements, soliciting public and stakeholder input, obtain regional council approval, and again, approval by the Federal Transit Administration and the Federal Highway Administration. The new TIP covers project funding. The funding that goes into the projects in the TIP are Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration formula funding, Proposition 400 and 479, the county half-cent sales tax, other federal competitive programs, state like highway user revenue funds, and other local and even privately funded sources. It includes capital and non-capital surface transportation projects, and examples could be roadway and intersection improvements, transit investments, bicycle and pedestrian facilities, safety projects, intelligent transportation projects, and even human services transportation projects. MAG utilizes a performance-based planning process, which aids in project selection, the setting of performance targets, and to demonstrate the current performance of the regional transportation system. It includes a listing of major projects. Major projects are defined by MAG as $200 million or greater budget projects, and the TIP demonstrates tip-to-tip updates what changed in those major projects. Were they completed? Were they delayed? And providing a justification if that was the case. And included is a financial plan and statistical summary, which includes the analysis of the financial information, which demonstrates the fiscal constraint of the TIP. When broken out by funding sources, you'll see it's federal, regional, state, local, and private funding into the TIP. 34% is federally funded, 42%, which is the greatest, is the regional funds, 7% for state projects, 16% is locally funded, and a very small 1% is privately funded. And when you add up all the projects within the TIP, it equals about $13.3 billion, which demonstrates the incredible investment that we make here in the MAG region for transportation projects. When broken out by mode between highway and transit, you can see that highway is the majority. It's about 80% of the program funds in the TIP. Next steps, in conjunction with the regional transportation plan, it had the exact same public comment period, 30 days. It went in conjunction with the regional transportation plan. It ended on October 10th, and we're here today to the Transportation Review Committee to request recommended approval. It will then go to the policy committees and culminate with regional council hopeful approval on December the 3rd. If approved by regional council, it will move on to be incorporated into ADOT's statewide transportation improvement program, or the STIP, and then packaged thereon, it will go to the Federal Transit Administration and Highway for a final adoption of the TIP. And with that, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee, that completes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Wendy. Do any members have any questions or comments of Wendy? Prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online written comments for this agenda item.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the draft fiscal year 2026 through 2030 MAG Transportation Improvement Program and errata sheet changes contingent on a finding of conformity? May I have a motion, please?
Chair, I'll move Parab Glendale.
Thank you, Parab. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. We will have those participating on the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone had their cameras on and the motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. Now we'll move to item number 10, fiscal year 2026 Traffic Signal Optimization Program, TSOP projects. This item is on the agenda for action and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MAG Deputy Transportation Director of Programming.
Again, good morning, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee. As the chair noted, this is an agenda item for the fiscal year 2026 Traffic Signal Optimization Program, or TSOP. Before I kind of get into the meat of the presentation, just a little overview of the program. I think it's helpful sometimes to contextually identify what this program is and what this program does. Some sobering statistics: since 2004, this program has completed over 150 projects affecting 1,500 signalized intersections within the region. Focus of the program is just as you see on the slide. It helps member agencies collect turning movement data, improve traffic signal coordination, and enable optimization throughout the corridors. For this call for projects for fiscal year 2026, there was $500,000 in funding available. 14 member agencies submitted 21 applications with a grand total ask of $926,940. So the process to allocate that $500,000 against those 21 applications, we do have an evaluation process made up of 9 factors, 5 quantitative and 4 qualitative. Here on the screen, you can see the 5 quantitative factors. Really what this is it allows the technical evaluation of the applications, understanding the on-the-ground implications. In addition, we have those 4 qualitative factors. This really allows member agencies to tell the rest of the story, go beyond the data, and explain the need for the project that they are submitting an application for. Here on the screen, apologize, a little bit small. These are the 21 applications that were submitted. This is the prioritized project ranking as developed and recommended for approval by the ITS committee on October 1st. We then shift and we put in a recommended funding scenario that starts with the Transportation Review Committee. And as you can see by the line, there is the cut line of those projects that can be funded and those that would not be funded. As proposed, we would be able to fully fund the top 10 scoring projects. In addition, we'd be able to partially fund the 11th project for the town of Gilbert. They did agree to accept partial funding for their project. So looking at the schedule, next steps, this is just a brief outline on the right-hand side of the screen, overview of the call for projects process. As you can see, where we're really at today, we said on October 23rd at Transportation Review Committee, this item is up for recommended approval. If approved, it then moves forward through the policy committees in November and December, targeting final approval by Regional Council on December 3rd. Critical to that and kind of why this is so important, one thing to note, kudos to our ITS staff, David Lucas and Sarvani. They worked really hard on this schedule to condense it a little bit on the front end. We did the call a little earlier this year than traditional, but the outcome, and you'll see why it's so important here, we're going to look to get these assignments to consultants after Regional Council in December. What that really means is we can get those kickoff meetings going, hopefully this year in December, a little bit into January, but the big part, have all projects complete by June 30th of next year. So hopefully with this acceleration, we'll be able to get all of those done by next summer. And with that, Chair Wilcox, members of the TRC, completes my presentation. Happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick. Do any members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? Prior to voting, there's an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I've received no requests for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online written comments for this agenda item.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the prioritized listing of fiscal year 2026 traffic signal optimization program projects and recommended funding scenario? May I have a motion?
Keith Brown, City Maricopa, I'll move to approve.
Thank you. May I obtain a second, please?
So Keith with City of Litchfield Park was second.
Very good, thank you. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone had their camera on and the motion passes.
Very good, thank you. And now we'll move to item number 11, Human Services Transportation Best Practices Report. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MEG Deputy Transportation Director of Programming.
For the last time this morning, thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the TRC. Pleasure to be here to present this item. Really excited for this particular update on the Human Services Transportation Best Practices Report. Really, when we think about human services transportation, we're thinking about FTA Section 5310, Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities. And really what we look at is we have a sector of eligible applicants that use this 5310 program that MAG administers. We have both private nonprofits, public entities, and tribal governments. And what they're really doing is serving those populations that are in the title, which is the older adults, 65 and greater, individuals with disabilities. A key tenet, and you saw it earlier in Ms. Quincy's presentation, when we talk about Federal Transit Administration funding in the MAG region, we talk about urban areas because the urban areas define where that funding can be spent. For Section 5310, we have two large urban areas in the Phoenix region. You see in the teal color, the Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale, which covers most of the North Central and East Valleys. And then in addition, in that sort of light purplish blue, we have the Phoenix West, Goodyear, Avondale urban area. For these two urban areas, the City of Phoenix serves as the designated recipient, and they handle grant management and compliance. MAG's role as the MPO, we really administer the call for projects process and do a lot of the coordination activities and the actual programming. One thing to note, as part of the 2020 census that was completed earlier this decade, we did get a new small urban area in the MAG region. This is the city of Maricopa. I will note their funding, because they are a small urban area for 5310, is administered by the State Department of Transportation. In addition, all of the areas that are not colored in on the map, those would be considered the rural portions of the region. Again, the funding is administered by ADOT. So a little bit of a background of the program. Going way back into the 1970s, all the way up to 2013, the state of Arizona, through the Department of Transportation, administered the program. Starting in 2013, a request was made and the governor approved said request to designate the city of Phoenix a 5310 program. And one thing, if you think about it, going back in time, this program has grown quite exponentially. Also paramount with what the funding has happened at the federal highway side. But we've seen this program go from just over less than 1 million to over 5 million funding per year. And here you can see that allocation of the funding. The Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale urban area gets just over $5 million. Phoenix West Goodyear Avondale, just about over 400,000. So why did we do a best practices study? You've heard a lot of the detail, a lot of the background, and really a couple things generated this. First, there was reorganization within MAG. Human Services Transportation moved under the Transportation Division, provide better alignment with the transportation focus of the agency. And then also kind of understanding that the program had grown so much since 2013. You saw on the previous slide, the fiscal growth. We wanted to go back out to our stakeholders, ensure that we were doing the right things, that we were meeting the needs of the region. So we issued a task order that kicked off just almost a little under a year ago. And what we really did with this best practices review is first we went and looked at the program history, not only the 5310 programs, but also looking at the Section 5310 program at a national level. We also conducted literature review. Our consultant worked and went out there hunting through various documents to see what others were doing in the 5310 space. And along with that, and I think the key component of what we did here, we did a bunch of peer agency interviews, asking other COGs and MPOs that look similar to the MAG region, either by demographics or geography, how they administered their program. The culmination of all that is the best practices report that's included in your agenda packet today for review. And so the peer agency interviews, we started with the Atlanta, the ARC, then moved to DRCOG, which is the Denver region, HGAC, which is Houston Galveston down in Texas. We also talked to the Puget Sound up in Washington State, and Wasatch Front, which covers the greater Salt Lake City area. In addition, we talked to ourselves, interviewed MAG staff and member agencies. And really that's what the culmination of this report was, is what are others doing? Out of that, we got recommendations that helped us identify what we might consider doing. So next steps today, We're here at TRC. The report was included in the packet for review. Any comments, please, certainly we would welcome those. The intent is then to take this report as an informational item next month through management and transportation policy and culminating with regional council on December 3rd. So some of the findings or takeaways, if you will, there's a federal requirement of the 5310 program that you must at least expend 55% capital. We saw varying degrees of that. We talked to other peer organizations that were almost exclusively focused in the capital space. So some considerations, capital versus operating. With all competitive programs, the selection and scoring process is a key consideration. How committees are used. We have a specific committee within the MAG structure that deals with elderly and persons with disabilities transportation committee, the EPDT committee. Balancing regional needs. I think this is one that came across well for us, especially maybe talking with our partners in Houston, Galveston. We are a geographically large area. When you go size alone, the MAG region would be the 44th largest state in the country. So it's a big region that we're trying to serve a lot of needs. And then finally, out of it, MAG is required to have a coordinated transportation plan. This best practices report is sort of intended to be the kickoff and input into that. So we're hoping to get a consultant on board early in calendar year 2026 to update our coordinated transportation plan. A lot of opportunities for member agencies and also private nonprofits to participate in that process. And with that, Chair Wilcox, members of the TRC, concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Patrick. Do any members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? Hearing none, we'll move to item 12, requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests from the membership for an item on a future agenda? Hearing none, the next agenda item is comments from the committee. Are there any comments or announcements from the membership? Hearing none, the next meeting of the Transportation Review Committee will be on Thursday, December 11th, 2025 at 10 a.m. With no further business, today's meeting is adjourned.